Early the next morning, you were poking at your food or eating slowly. Your sister Lucy had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Faye? I guess.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah. With all the exasperation an 80-year-old can muster, you looked at your empty cereal bowl, then at Mom.
Okay.
Okay attitude, kid, we see. Good job. He should be here soon. Clean up again, and then, when on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Faye, could you get it? Because Mom said so, you wandered over to the door. Hey, Madison family. Thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him and Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. You studied Cove apathetically. This was the parents' plan, not yours. Not seeming any more excited than you were, he just stared back. You twisted the flower bead bracelet on your wrist. Do you want to play in your room, Faye? Sure. So my room is this way. Okay.
Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids. See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, and a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Thank you. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of the particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You started to feel a little bit nervous. You wanted to say something but didn't know what, so you let him keep looking. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you've collected, tucked away by your door. He took a step forward towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach. Do you have any driftwood in it? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. Yeah. You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand. Neat. This is a good collection. You got the sense of the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Ah, Shiloh is coming. Over. Shiloh? My sister's friend. He wants to, meet you. Do I have to see him? It'll be fine, I think. Here, I found this shell in a log, and you pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cole listened with what looked like the full force of his attention, like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back into the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost the twin to his own. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, even if it was only directed at the shells. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not that a parent made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shillow's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought this box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Bust it open. We can keep looking while we wait for Shillow. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. That's my favorite too. Cove smiled at you, and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades of dark and light yellow, orange. If you held it to your ear, you could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor, looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shillow. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. I'm sorry, there's nowhere to go. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window? He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. Shillow is the least scary person alive. Every single bunny rabbit is scarier than Shillow. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. You're right. Meeting new people is really hard. I'm sorry. Thanks. Shillow poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he heard what you'd been saying or not, but you guessed that he had.
Hi.
Hi, Faye. And hi, Cove? Cove shot you an uneasy glance.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Shiloh. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Right, I do. What are you guys doing? We're looking at the shells.
Can I do it too?
Awesome. Can I do it too? Cove shrugged, then looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach findings some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else. You held out a recent find to Cove, a scalloped shell that had washed up on shore. It's a pretty color, kinda like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay,
Oh?
is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool,
I guess.
I guess. I like those colors too.
Awesome.
Awesome. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lucy was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cole wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Ah? Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cole's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I wanna go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do? Too, right? Faye? The park is fun. I love it. Yeah, it's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like could be cool. So are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Kate? He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short, she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Faye, Shiloh. Hi. She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove is here. You weren't sure if this was an improvement. Who's that? It's Cove, he's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. No one ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove whispered in your ear, quiet enough that the earthers wouldn't overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills. You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are? Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Faye's age. Yeah,
Yeah.
thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth. Oh. For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Only some of them don't like kids. You interjected quickly, hoping Lizzie wouldn't take things too far. Cove sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie is staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Faye in school. You'll see tons of kids there when summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot, too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was at something else entirely, you didn't really know, but she laughed, his face scrunching up. Welcome to Sunset Berg, Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. It's right. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. The first summer, you hadn't really been interested in him one way or another. He was just kind of a fact of life, someone you met with because he was there. Of course, that was only the start of things. Come back before it gets dark. Alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you'd been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you'd first meet Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got, well, you gotta learn to be more sneaky. You brushed your hairs, hands together to free them of sand, and then jogged it over to join the two.
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Faye? Nothing. You toed the pavement in front of you. It would be nice to tell them about the snail you found, but you didn't know if they liked snails. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. It does? You weren't sure about that. Cove was about to hit the shores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You shrugged. Cove was in the process of making a similar motion. You didn't have anything else to do, and you hadn't been to the stores in a few days. Maybe there was something new to look at. Maybe. Is that okay?
I guess.
I was going by myself, but I guess it is. You don't have to. Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd, since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp tin to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend too. Sure.
Good
That's
kid.
my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up. The bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then, with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for shells? Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and murmured, sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You could manage that. You propped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visit the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played the little games with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. What do you usually do on the beach? A lot of things, like bodyboarding and volleyball and surfing and everything and stuff. The idea of standing on a big board while the waves propelled you towards shore was mystifying. I'm not allowed to surf, it looks hard. Not once you get the hang of it, I could show you sometime. But I'm also not supposed to surf right now, 'cause I have this. He lifted up one arm, showing off the glaring pink cast wrapped around his wrist. Yeah. I also like collecting stuff that's on the shore. Shells, sand dollars. I found a shark tooth once. You did? Cole stretched out his forefinger and thumb. It was this long. That was somehow both scary and delightful. No way! I mean it. I still have it under my bed. You'd have to remember to ask him to show it to you sometime.
So...
What about you? What do you do out here? I like looking at the fish. They don't like me, so they always swim away if I get close, but they're pretty before that. Cool, starfish are fun. They aren't going anywhere, even if you touch them. A small laugh escaped you. That's true. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked, sighed Cove. He could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now, too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It was nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cole, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cole was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cole pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander. In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read "The Amazing Alexander" in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. You bit your lip, reluctantly, starting to follow after Cove again. You continued looking over your shoulder, however, wanting to see as much as you could before you got too far away. Hey, not watching where you were going proved a bad idea, as you bumped right into Cove. Oh, sorry. Did you want to stay or something? If that's okay. He briefly lifted his arms up and off his sides before returning them to place. You could have said so. With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers, and the card just disappeared. Wow! The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's behind your ear? Tell me. Said to be going somewhere and you needed to find out. You smelled like popcorn and candy when you stepped closer. It was great. You felt a tug, and then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he done it. There was light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from the clump of them tied down to his table. Both were in a shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you were really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, not the stuff with cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. At least you had a fun time. You saw a magic trick and you caught a great balloon. That was more than enough to make it a worthwhile event. You thought that if you could find a card to practice with, maybe you could make it disappear too. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. You picked up a Rubik's Cube. Oh, will you hold my balloon while I watch this? Cove nodded, taking your balloon and holding it in the same hand as his own so you could get a good grip on the cube. He stood next to you and watched as you attempt to match the colored rows. You managed to line up all the green squares on one side of the cube, but there were still 5 more sides to go. Deciding that it was something that you should continue another time, you set the cube back on the rack and took your balloon from Cove, who moved to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating balloon dolphin, and you joined him. Did you have places like this in your old town? Cove blinked at you for a moment, and you wondered if you shouldn't have asked. You knew how much he missed that place. Not really. You nodded in understanding, looking over at the stalls nearby. While Cove looked at sand pails, you were drawn to the table with colorful keychains laid out on it. There you were soon in the shape of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read "Handmade," standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. You picked the crab. Your hand stopped on the crab, claws raised, and a tiny smile on its face. It had big eyes and little legs, and the fabric was smooth when you picked it up. You had seen a few crabs at the beach before, though they usually scuttle away before you got a chance to look at them closely. You liked the idea of having a crab all of your own, even if it was just a soft animal. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but the thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money. It's
All right.
fine. Really? Really? Cove took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself too. My dad told me to. You were a little nervous, but happy with your purchase nonetheless. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you too. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiring around in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove. Yeah? Thanks for getting me that. Okay, it wasn't clear if he really accepted your thanks or not. What? You were going to thank him for the keychain again, but considering he only did it because his dad told him to, it probably didn't matter. Cove raised an eyebrow but didn't push the issue. Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some snack. Let's get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, we both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you got the same. You licked your lips hurriedly as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. Your mom didn't like you to eat too much sugar, but this was a special occasion. The little cup of icing looked too delicious to pass on. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that was grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out of the seat. These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cole placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tucked the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist.
Oh.
Oh! Cove bounced his arms up and down in a place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled satisfied. Could you help me too? I can't tie it to my own wrist. He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled some at it with the cast, restricting his fingers on one hand and a string already tangled around the other.
Okay.
Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over this ocean. After a time, you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on a string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned to face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming with the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining parts of his pretzel on the wrapper and he was gripping his dolphin too. Mine's name is Splash. They star in movies. Their trainers use fish and treats to help them perform tricks. They were the most famous dolphin in the world. You sighed, wishing you could star in a movie with a real life dolphin. What's yours? Cole considered this question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arms across in contemplation. With a loud pop, the balloon exploded into ribbons. Oh no. For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock, like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. We could go find the amazing Alexander. He could give you another one. You don't want to see Cove cry, and that's really all you can think to do about it. No. Cove stared sadly at what was left of his balloon, tears rolling down his cheeks. He wasn't moving an inch from the spot. You thought that was too bad, not even trying to get another one, but if that's what he wanted to do, you couldn't stop him. Cove spent the rest of the outing sniffling and didn't talk much. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event on your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset, fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to close. It had been nice for the most part. Hopefully there wouldn't be any tears next time.